back to Listening Librarians. Katie and I have a fun episode in mind for you today, since it's the middle of winter and, as you might be able to see, the snow is flying. We thought that for February we would talk about getting away from it all. So our selections today are going to be based on travel somehow. So Katie, what do you have up for us first?
So travel can obviously take many forms, and so I wanted to talk about a book I had listened to recently that has a road trip, albeit maybe not the most fun road trip, but a road trip, and that is Empire of Wild by Cherie Dimaline. She's a native author, and so this is an audiobook that was about 8 hours, so I got through really quickly. It's narrated by Michelle St. John. And so our lead character is Joan. It's been almost a year since her husband disappeared after the two of them had an argument. And of course, life hasn't been super great for her because she really misses her husband. His name is Victor. And one day after a night of drinking with her cousin, she's on her way home and she's hung over and she thinks, I'm going to stop by the Walmart, grab something like a water or soda to get me home. And there's this huge tent in the Walmart parking lot. And she actually first thinks it's a circus or like a carnival that's in town. And it's the whole like, ooh, fried food would be like perfect right now mentality. But it's not a carnival. It is actually a church revival tent. And so she's just kind of wandering around, and then who does she see but Victor? But it is not her husband, or is it? Because this man who looks exactly down to the hands, the face, the tattoos, everything is her Victor. He says he has no idea who she is. That she's crazy. They actually end up calling the police on her and saying, there's this drunk woman who is harassing us. But she knows that whoever this false reverend is who's traveling with this traveling church, she's like, no, I know this is my husband. Now, I feel like personally, my first thought might be, wow, did my husband have an identical twin that he did not know about? But that does not cross her mind at all.
Surprising.
Yeah, so what happens is Joan ends up taking this road trip with her nephew, Zeus. He's a very precocious 12-year-old. A lot of humor coming from their dynamic. And they follow Eugene Wolfe is the name of this reverend who she believes to be Victor, kind of across Canada, where this takes place, and trying to figure out how to get Victor back to her. Is it Victor? And then how to get him back. So it was not what I expected. It's very complex, despite it not feeling like it, I guess would be a way to describe it.
Yeah.
Real bold finale, obviously a little bit supernatural, a little bit creepy. And I will say that the narrator, Michelle St. John, did an excellent job with all of the creepy male voices. So I would recommend it for a unique road trip.
Definitely.
Novel.
Yeah, I read that in paper and was struck by the same things and just could not put it down.
Yeah.
But I imagine listening to it, it's even
What's
more.
happening?
Okay.
Well, what'd you read?
Well, I went for a couple of travel memoirs, and mine are not creepy.
Good.
So a little bit different there. My first one is called Do Not Go Gentle, Go to Paris. Travels of an Uncertain Woman of a Certain Age. And the author is Gail Thorell Schilling. She dreamed many, many years of traveling to Paris, starting when she was in her 20s. But, she got married, she had kids, then she was divorced, then a single mother, and she had to keep putting it off. So finally, at around age 62, just before, and this is just before social media and travel websites really take off, she decides to brush up on her French at the local community college and make her own plans to travel to Paris and around France. So she just jumps right into it. She's got support from her kids, but she's kind of just going in, not knowing anybody, not really knowing the territory other than from what she's read. And her book, which as an audiobook, it's only about 6 hours, but it shares some of her travel observations along with these little biographical sketches of some of the strong older women in her life, whether it's people back home or some of the older French women she meets along the way. And it just kind of gives her a sense of independence and strength as she's becoming older. It's read by Robin Segerman. I don't know how much she's done narrating-wise, but it was just a nice, cozy kind of listen of someone who's overcome those obstacles in life to say, okay, you know what? It's my time. I'm going to do this. And she did it. So.
And did it make you want to go to France?
Oh, well, I mean, you mean go back, but still, yes, nice. Absolutely. There were some things where it was like, yeah, I kind of remember that, or, oh, that would have been nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
Well, the other book that I chose to kind of go off of it is called Killers of a Certain Age. So we're sticking with at least the same age group, but maybe a different feel.
Slightly different, yeah.
So Killers of a Certain Age is a new novel from 2022, and it's by Deanna Raybourn. And it is about 4 women in their 60s, and they have just retired, so they're going to go on a cruise. So that's why I chose this for our listening librarians, because it all starts on this cruise that they're trying to take together. And they have all retired from the museum. So the museum is this clandestine spy organization. You learn that the museum started right after World War II as a way to get rid of some of the Nazis that had escaped the Nuremberg trials. So they've spent their lives taking out, literally, Nazis, cartel leaders, trafficking rings. But, they've hit retirement age and they're gonna, live it up. So unfortunately, while they're on this cruise, our 4 lead characters, their names are Billy, Mary Alice, Helen, and Natalie, they actually recognize somebody, and they realize that they have been targeted by the museum for elimination. They don't know why, but they figure out, if this person is here, then they sneak into that person's room and they go through like his dossier. And since they worked for the museum, they understand the code, and they're like, oh, crud, it's us. So they need to make this big daring escape. It's very Golden, if like the Golden Girls were also assassins, I'll say this. So they have to make this escape, and then what happens afterwards is like this whirlwind international travel tour of espionage, where they need to figure out why they were targeted, and once they figure that out, who did it, and then maybe they need to take out those who's who put them up for elimination.
Wow.
And so they really need to rely on their experience and their friendship with one another to survive, because they really need to teach this museum leadership what it means to be a killer of a certain age. So that was kind of their tagline. And that just because they are older women does not mean they should be brushed aside. So it was obviously lots of fun, wit, a lot of humor, very unpredictable moments sometimes. And the major focus obviously being on friendships, but then also the perception and invisibility of older women, which I don't think we get super often in books. And I am definitely looking forward to more from this author. So this was narrated by two women, Jane Oppenheimer and Christina Delane, because we get multiple points of view. So, and then it was about 10 hours.
Okay. Wow, that's a heck of a retirement program.
Yeah.
Retire, but we'll kill you. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have that one on my hold list. So
Okay.
I'm like 78 or something. So it might be a while.
You'll get it eventually.
That sounds like it'll be a good one.
I think I started on Libby on the audiobook hold at like 200th in line.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I got it it took like maybe 2 months.
Okay. Well, my second one is going to be another travel memoir, and this one is called Waypoints. It's also from 2022, and the author is Sam Heughan, who is the actor from Outlander, plays Jamie Fraser. I know I've talked about one of his audiobooks before, and I gotta say, I just love listening to him. He's got that wonderful Scottish brogue, and
he's not bad to look at either.
Well, there's that, but you don't get that if you listen
know.
to the audiobook. So. And he does narrate this, so that was definitely
nice.
A key interest for my getting it. But it kind of combines a memoir of his life, especially him getting into acting and his experience in acting, with his adventures of walking the 96-mile-long West Highland Way in the Scottish Highlands. So it starts... I don't think it starts in Glasgow, but it starts somewhere between there and Loch Lomond and goes up through that area and across, I think, to Fort William. I don't remember the exact route it takes, but it's through some pretty rural, uninhabited areas, as well as some inhabited areas. He had started off thinking, well, he was just going to backpack and camp along the way. That didn't pan out.
The little I know about the weather in Scotland seems like that would maybe be a little rough.
Yeah, there was a fair amount of rain, a fair amount of stopping in the pub at night, and then deciding, yeah, maybe this isn't going to work out. I'm carrying too much stuff. What was I thinking? But, along the way, there's the meditating on his life and the different waypoints in his life, connecting with the history of the areas of Scotland he's going through. Just kind of a journey of self-discovery for him. And the nice thing is on the audiobook, the end of each chapter, so the end of each day, there's actually audio that he took on the walk.
Oh,
so at
cool.
the end of the day, then he would sit there and record a little bit about what happened that day.
Like a little diary entry.
Yeah. So that was kind of nice. You get the formal narration, and then you get these little diary snippets.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is especially cool because there was the one night he was still camping and it was raining, and so you hear the rain pattering on the tent, and it was really cool. So that's about 8 hours. Wonderful, easy listen because just such a lovely voice. It makes me want to go back to Scotland, but not necessarily to walk the West Highland Way because that sounded just a little challenging in spots. So that's what I have for travel. Next month, what do we have coming up?
Next month is March, and we are doing books that made us laugh. So I'm looking forward to that because, March in Ohio, at least, it's very iffy. It might technically, calendar-wise, be the start of spring, but it never feels like spring. So we might need something like funny to, get us through until we get that nicer weather.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe prepare us for April Fool's Day.
Yes, that too. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us for Listening Librarians.
And we hope we'll see you again next month. Bye.